The construction site that finished itself overnight. The job posting said they needed painters for a new housing development on the edge of town. Good pay, flexible hours, work outside all summer. I was 3 weeks out of high school and desperate for anything that wasn't retail, so I called the number. A woman answered on the first ring. Her voice was flat, almost bored. She asked if I had any painting experience. I lied and said yes. She told me to show up Monday morning at 7, gave me an address, and hung up before. The development was called Meadowbrook Estates, which was ironic because there were no meadows and no brooks, just red clay dirt and the skeletal frames of houses that looked like they'd been abandoned mid-construction. I counted 12 foundations, some with framing, some just concrete slabs with rebar sticking up like broken teeth. There were 3 other painters already there when I arrived. 2 guys around my age and an older woman who introduced herself as Rita. She'd been doing this for 2 weeks already, she said. The pay was good and the work was easy, what it's you. Got used to what? I asked. She just smiled and handed me a brush. Our supervisor was a man named Mr. Calloway. He wore the same khaki pants and white polo shirt every day, and he never seemed to sweat even though it was pushing 90 degrees by 9 in the morning. He walked us through the site and explained that we'd be doing exterior work only. Trim, siding, shutters. The interiors weren't ready yet. I looked at the nearest house. It was barely more than a frame. No siding at all. Just exposed stouts bertard how wrapped. He pointed to a house at the far end of the development, the only one that looked anywhere close to finished. We'd start there, he said. By the time we finished one, the next would be ready. It didn't make sense, but I needed the money. I followed Rita to the completed house and got to work. The weird thing was how fast the houses went up. That first day, we painted the trim on the finished house. White semi-gloss, 2 coats. It took us until 4 in the afternoon. When we packed up to leave, I glanced back at the development and stopped walking. The house next to the one we'd just painted had siding now. Full vinyl siding, pale yellow, where there had been nothing but studs that morning. I asked Rita if a construction crew had been working while we painted. She shook her head. They come at night, she said. You get used to it. I didn't understand what she meant, but she was already walking to her car. The next day, Mr. Calloway assigned us to the yellow house. It was completely ready for paint. Siding, trim, shutters waiting to be mounted. I walked around. It was warm from the sun, but felt slightly wrong. Like the texture was too smooth or too uniform. I couldn't put my finger on it. We painted all day. The yellow siding got a coat of primer, then a soft gray. The trim stayed white. Rita worked with mechanical efficiency, barely speaking. The 2 other guys, Jason and Kyle, mostly complained about the heat and took long breaks. I kept looking over my shoulder at the other houses. 3 of them had progressed noticeably since yesterday. 1 now had a roof. Another had wed their houses. The frames seemed to fill in like time-lapse videos, except we never saw it happen. On the 3rd day, I arrived early. I wanted to see if I could catch the construction crew, figure out how they were working so quietly and so fast. The site was empty. No trucks, no workers, no sounds except the wind. I walked through the development slowly, studying each house. The one we painted gray yesterday now had a brick mailbox at the curb. I hadn't seen anyone pour a foundation for it. I touched the brick. I heard a car pull up and turned to see Mr. Calloway getting out of a silver sedan. He walked toward me with that same expression he always wore, not quite smiling, not quite blank. Early bird, he said. I asked him who was doing the construction work. He tilted his head slightly, like he was considering how to answer. Then he said that the development had its own timeline. Our job was just to paint. Everything else would take care of itself. I pressed him. I said it wasn't possible for houses to go up this fast. Not with truths. Then he asked if the work was too difficult for me. If I needed to quit. I thought about my empty bank account and shook my head. Good, he said. We're ahead of schedule. By the end of the first week, we'd painted 4 houses. 8 more were in various stages of completion. I stopped trying to make sense of it. Rita was right. You got used to it. Or at least you stopped asking questions. But I started noticing other things. The houses never looked quite lived in, even after they were finished. The house had noticed white. The grass never grew in the yards, even though the lots were graded and seeded, and there were never any other workers. Just us and Mr. Calloway and the houses that built themselves in the dark. Jason quit in the second week. He didn't say why, just stopped showing up. Kyle said he'd gone in one of the houses to use the bathroom and came out looking pale and wouldn't talk about it. The next Monday, a new guy started. His name was David. He was older, maybe mid-30s, with the kind of sunburn that suggested he'd been working outside for years. He didn't ask quite. We were working on house number 7 when I found the signatures. I was painting the inside of a closet, one of the few interior spaces Mr. Calloway let us touch, when I noticed writing on the bare drywall. Small, cramped handwriting in pencil. Names and dates. Mark Torres, June 2019. Sarah Chen, July 2020. Robert Vance, August 2021. There were more, a dozen at least, going back to 2015. All summer months. All just names and dates. I called match medit state. I call it stay tight date. I didn't understand. She grabbed my arm hard enough to hurt. The last house, she said. Don't paint the last house. When it's done, the development is done. And then she stopped. Mr. Calloway was standing in the doorway. Problem? He asked. His voice was pleasant, but his eyes weren't. Rita let go of my arm. No problem, she said. Just taking a break. He smiled. Back to work then. We're almost finished. That night, I drove back to the development alone. I parked it on halt. The site was dark except for one streetlight at the entrance, casting long shadows across the dirt. 11 houses were completely finished now. Painted, landscaped, mailboxes installed. They looked perfect. They looked like houses in a catalog, too clean and too symmetrical. The 12th house was nearly done, just trim work left. I walked up to the front door of house number 7, where I'd seen the signatures. I tried the handle and it opened. The inside was dark, but I could see enough from the moonlight through the windows. The room's fully furnished. Coffee table, kitchen table with place settings, beds made with crisp white sheets. But everything was slightly wrong. The furniture was too uniform, like it had been stamped from a mold. There were no books on the shelves, no photos on the walls, no signs that anyone had ever touched anything. I went upstairs to the bedroom where the closet was. I pulled out my phone and used the flashlight to find the signatures again. Below the list of names, someone had written the message in smaller letters. They're not building houses. They're Feldslode. I turned off my phone and pressed myself against the wall. The footsteps came up the stairs, steady and unhurried. They stopped outside the bedroom door. I held my breath. The door opened. It was Mr. Calloway. He stood in the doorway, silhouetted against the hall light that I hadn't seen turned on. You're working late, he said. I tried to speak, but my throat was too dry. He stepped into the room. The development needs 12 houses, he said. 12 is the right number. When the last pates, he quick help bunyates to them out. In the dim light, I could see that he didn't blink. His eyes were too steady, too focused. The previous painters understood, he continued. They finished their work. Now they have homes here. Permanent homes. I ran. I shoved past him and bolted down the stairs, through the living room, out the front door. I sprinted across the development toward my car, not looking back, my heart hammering so hard I thought I might pass out. I made it to my car and locked the doors. My hands shook as I started the engine. In the rear view mirror, I could see Miss Calloway standing at the entrance to the development, watching. Not chasing, just watching. I drove home and didn't sleep. The next morning, I didn't go to work. Rita called me at noon. Her voice was strange, dreamy, and distant. She said I needed to come back. The 12th house was almost ready. Just one more day of work. Maybe 2. We were so close to finishing. I told her I quit. I hung up before she could respond. For 3 days, I stayed home. Then I got a text message from a number I didn't recognize. It would add Muddatrast. What might I add? Calloway's silver sedan was parked across the street. The next message came through a minute later. It was a photo of my apartment building. Then another photo, closer. My front door. Then, we're expanding the development. We need painters for phase 2. You have experience now. I grabbed my keys and my wallet and left through the back. I stayed with a friend that night, then another friend, then I left town entirely. I drove 5 hours east and crashed on my cousin's couch while I looked for work. I found a job, It doesn't pay as well as the painting gig, but I don't care. Last week, I saw a help wanted ad in the local paper. A new housing development on the east side of town needed painters for the summer. Good pay, flexible hours, no experience necessary. The development is called Cedarwood Acres. I drove past it yesterday just to look. 12 foundations, freshly poured. 12 houses waiting to be built. And at the entrance to the site, I saw a silver sedan. Drop your verdict. 12 houses waiting to be built. And at the